Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, and obviously this is where my voice stands at the moment. I feel great. My voice, however, does not reflect that. But that's also why there has not been a show this week, so apologies for that. But today I don't have to do a ton of talking because today's show we are chatting with Dan Gangon of Broadfork Farm in Virginia, which I recorded pre-voice apocalypse, so that's good. I saw Dan and his partner Janet speak at VABF conference a few years back in Virginia, and I just loved how down to earth they were about the ups and downs of winter farming in particular was that subject, but farming in general and work-life balance, which is a lot of what we chat about today. We are also going to be talking about how and why they certify as naturally grown and how that label has worked for them. I love this chat and really appreciate their work, so let's do it. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you having me. Glad to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here. I've got to see you all talk before, but we've never really got to have a conversation. So I'm really excited to do this. But maybe just for the listeners and viewers, can you kind of introduce your farm a little bit? Kind of talk about where you are, what you do, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, my wife Janet, Artema, and I, we've been farming here in Central Virginia we're going on our 16th season. We're just southwest of Richmond, so 30 minutes away, Richmond being our main market area. We're in Chesterfield County, and yeah, we've been living here for about 20 plus years now.
And what sort of acreage are you working on?
So we have a 5-acre parcel that includes everything, including our home, barn, housing, and we're growing on site. We're growing on about 2.5 acres now, with just last year experimenting with some off-site growing that was just a 1/2 acre. We may do a little bit more of that this year, but that's kind of still a work in progress.
Is it all mixed veg, or are you doing animals or anything like that?
No animals. No animals at all. We did that sort of thing in the early years where we kind of wanted to do a little bit of everything and quickly realized how utterly ridiculous that was. And so then we concentrated all on veg. Then slowly started to incorporate flowers and bouquets. And that seemed to be a nice incorporation. Once we really started to standardize our growing practices, get fertility where we needed it, we incorporated flowers back in. Although I should say we have done since the very beginning, we've built a wood-fired brick oven, and we have as about 10% of our business organic sourdough bread. And so we bring that to the farmer's market every week as well with us.
Whoa. Okay. So what is that process? Are you firing those early on Saturday morning or on Friday night? How does that work?
Yeah. So we bake a couple times a week. So it's not a full-time bakery. We incorporate it midweek and add it as part of our CSA farm share offerings. And then so that would be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday for the big weekend farmers market. We also distribute farm shares on Saturdays as well. So we do a big bake on the weekend. So yeah, that's late nights on Friday and early Saturday mornings.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we've talked about, Hannah's a big baker, and I've always been we should incorporate this, but also at the same time, should we incorporate this? It's a lot more because of that amount of work, I suppose, and the timing would be kind of a crunch.
Yeah, and so when we started, we had no idea that this would work. And there was still at that time where all you could really tell was that Elliot Coleman was doing this sort of small market garden thing. And when we were searching out examples, there was no real clear example that we could find at the time that showed this was viable. So we just went for it, and we thought that, okay, it's probably unlikely that we can support ourselves and our family just off of veg. So nor did we even know that we would be able to support our family off of it, which we have been now for almost a decade. But we definitely thought the strategy was going to have to be 4-season farming, and then wanted a little bit of a buffer with cash flow and stuff with bread. And both things came out of our own personal desires for these foods in our community that really weren't that abundant. And, so these are hobbies that got out of control and turned into an occupation, both of them. And because we were both lovers of like really good, crusty, organic sourdough bread, and it wasn't around and we were already doing it. And we're like, why don't we just incorporate it into the business? And for those business reasons, it made a lot of sense at the time and still does.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. I think that's a cool incorporation. Talk a little bit more about markets. Like you mentioned farmers market, maybe see it like where's the food going? Yeah,
so we do so the breakdown is about 45% is going to be in a CSA farm share. For another 45% is going to be at farmers market, just one Saturday farmers market in Richmond. Then we have been doing almost since the very beginning as well, just a self-serve on-site farm stand that's open 7 days a week. That's just slowly been growing over time in business and a little bit of size, but and then just a tiny little bit of wholesale to local health food stores, just a couple, and some restaurants here or there, but nothing major. That's a small percentage, maybe 5 or 10%, depending upon the season.
Talk a little bit about that farm store situation. Is it just, it's kind of on your site there and people can come pick up what they need, Venmo you, that sort of thing? Yeah, that's right. And, we are in one of the fastest growing counties, I think in the United States, but almost certainly in Virginia. The suburbia is traveling at a rate to us per year, like like a miles per year type rate where we can see it coming. Customers are coming closer to us. A lot of northern folks who've been priced out of Northern Virginia. So it's always been this idea that we wanted to sell as much produce as we can as close to the farm and as close to the community as possible. That hasn't been strictly possible. I know folks have been able to achieve that. We'd love to achieve that one day. And one way to do that has just been having this self-serve farm stand. And people continue to come as more people move here, more business just happens there. Most people who show up have never experienced a self-serve business for the most part. Although, the way most self-serve checkouts are happening at like grocery stores and Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, all that kind of places, I think people are actually starting to get more familiar with it, which is kind of helpful actually. But it's been great, and it just allows this like steady stream of marketing labor of us standing there trying to sell produce. It just kind of happens on its own, which is great, and I'd love to be able to incorporate more of that as we move forward. Yeah, no, that's cool. I like that. It's anytime you can sell off of your farm, it just reduces this whole complicated element of travel, of all the time to take and set up and communication with customers and all the things. Like it's just there and they can come get it. I think that, I think that's a really amazing opportunity that we have as growers.
Yeah, and we've been growing. We have 4 children, and children have been a huge part of our lives. And so we're at a point where 3 out of the 4 are teenagers. So they live extremely active lives now. It was actually in some ways easier when they were younger, because they'd just be skipping around the farm in bare feet and, riding bikes and underwear and doing all that kind of fun stuff. And now they're just out and about, and they've got activities and the weekends are full. And so, the farmers market is a huge family strain in that way. And we'd love to kind of be able to move away from that for more family time, but at least the farm stand is one avenue, and certainly CSA and farm share helps with that too, where we're not necessarily having our own personal time on the weekends as much doing that. That allowed us to basically cut out a midweek market, which was super helpful.
Yeah, I relate a lot to that. That's one reason that Hannah and I mean, it's probably the main reason that Hannah and I dropped our farmers market, was just so that we could have, the weekends back for the kids. And it was like, yeah, like you said, as they get older, they have more stuff to do. I coach their soccer teams, and like
Nice.
that just was not possible when we were doing the farmers markets.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's important to me to be around them. And so, yeah, I get that. Like and trying to find these other avenues, like you said, maybe increasing the farm share, focusing more on the farm store and that sort of stuff. I think that's great.
Totally.
What about employees? Do you all employ anybody?
We do. We have, gosh, I'm always terrible. It changes from year to year. About 6 full-time equivalents, maybe a little bit more. There's some part-time folks, so the equivalence is around there, 6 or 7. Yep. And definitely with the bakery and the high tunnels, we're keeping folks year round. We built some nice farm housing several years ago, so we're able to provide some nice living quarters for folks. And so we're hustling year round and keeping some people around full time year round.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about something that we haven't really touched too much on, which is the Certified Naturally Grown label, BRB.
Today's episode is brought to you by GrownBy. Grow smarter with GrownBy, the farmer-owned cooperative. GrownBy is the platform for online sales of everything. Custom and traditional CSAs, halves of beef, flower bouquets, wholesale to restaurants, and now GrownBy supports in-person sales too. With their new app, GrownBy Register, you can supercharge your market and farm stand, finally bringing together your online and offline sales and customer data. GrownBy is proud to make local food accessible by processing SNAP benefits online and in person right within the app. GrownBy helps you to put your best food forward. Schedule a demo today at coop.grownby.com/no-till. That's coop.grownby.com/no-till. All right, back to the show.
All right, so talk to us. I know that you all are CNG, Certified Naturally Grown. That's your certification. So can you talk a little bit about how that works or how you got into it?
Yeah, certified. We've been certified naturally grown almost since the very beginning. I don't think maybe starting in year 2 or 3. And it was really great for us and still is, although not quite as important. But so our market, where we were in Virginia at the time, like farmers markets were just starting to come onto the scene. And so there wasn't a ton of consumer education happening. Those first 5 years were very much, I can remember the hustle vividly, right? And I think many other experienced growers know that, like when you're not just starting your business from scratch and building soil from scratch and all that sort of stuff, but you're building your customer base from scratch. A lot of us do, right? And it required a ton of education. And a lot of that starts for us with the certification. And it was a way in which we could start teaching these customers, like, we're growing differently, we're doing things differently. And they didn't know what the different was, but then that starts the conversation to be able to communicate to them, yeah, this is what organic farming is. This is what sustainable growing practices consist of. This is regenerative ag. These are all the things that we're doing. And of course, as you do that, and as we did that, you're basically adding value to your product, right? So oftentimes certification is considered a value added product, because you want that value to be able to justify the price that you're selling these products at, and customers seem to really appreciate knowing that. So we loved having it. We loved it being that kind of starting point for a conversation when you're trying to differentiate yourselves with other growers at the farmers market. So yeah, we still love it, and we still love being a part of CNG.
And I mean, you touched on it for a second, but is that partially why it's not as important now? Is that it helped you build that customer base to the point that you're like kind of secure in what you need, like you're not necessarily looking to grow?
Yeah. So it's interesting to see how people do it differently. I mean, we've definitely had a number of friends so let me say, I think CNG works perfectly if you are into the direct to consumer game and you just want to be educating your customers and building your customer base. If we were doing wholesale, I think we would be interested in going certified organic so that you're serving customers who still trust that brand, and there's no interface with us. So they're not getting all of that juicy details and connection that they get with a face-to-face grower. And then a number of people in our community just, as they got established, they're just like, we don't need this anymore. Life is busy. Farming is crazy. We don't need to keep trying to do that. And that's fine too. I think we're just kind of we just like love CNG. We've always loved the people with CNG. We're kind of loyal to CNG. And so we keep doing it, even though, our customer base is solid now and it's great. Maybe they don't need it. We don't talk about it as much, but we kind of just have it as part of, I guess, our farm brand and identity now, and just want to keep doing it. And our role has changed a little bit with CNG too, where we're doing a lot of teaching with the CNG kind of farm school series that they do periodically. And that's been fun and as a great way to give back to the organization as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of certifying with them?
Yeah, so I would definitely love to just tell people that I think the website is terrific. So if you're curious, please go check it out, naturallygrown.org. And the FAQ page is terrific and pretty much answer everybody's question and give you a good idea of what's possible. But for the most part, CNG, you're following the National Organic Program standards. So no synthetics, herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, all that kind of stuff. And but what makes it unique is that it's a nonprofit organization and it's farmers certifying other farmers. So you're giving another farmer a tour, and we have found that works really well. We were certainly skeptical at the beginning when we started doing it, but we've really I think my confidence in that method has grown over time and feel really good about it. And then there are, in case people are worried, there are other ways if you don't have a like say another certified naturally grown farmer in your area. There's other ways to work with that certification. Again, that's in that FAQ if people are curious. But if you're wanting to get started, you want to differentiate yourself, I think CNG is a terrific option, and I would definitely encourage people to go check it out and talk to the crew there and see if it can work for you. It's great. It's a great organization.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, in general, even though Hannah and I are no longer certified organic, when we're trying to figure out if we want to use a product, we kind of do ourselves defer to what is the organic standard for X product or whatever, in case in the future we want to recertify or whatever. And that's kind of what I've been, and what you said sort of, but that's kind of how I understand CNG to operate too. So if you're like, can I use this product in CNG and can I use that product in CNG? Really, it's like, for the most part, you can kind of defer to what the organic standards are, and that gives you an outline of like, this is what their standards are too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And, it also is, and I would just say it's also just part of a greater, for most farms, especially as you're establishing your customer base. We used to do farm tours and a lot of like even workshops, local workshops and stuff like that too. Again, just to be able to communicate to the customers everything that we're doing on our farm so they could understand the depth, which most customers have actually no idea what we do, how we do it, and what our lives are like. And when they do find out, they're like, oh my gosh, take my money. For the most part, some of them do.
Yeah, no, I relate to that.
I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating. They don't, but they do. You can see the value in a conversation when they don't realize you just plant a seed and walk away and harvest like a couple months later. That's what some people think.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's a lot of times that I think, if that, right? Like I think it is very abstract, the idea of what a farm is and what it does and like what a farmer does on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like I know that because I came from the perspective of somebody who supported some small farmers when I lived in New York City. And I was like, I'd go to the farmer's market and I'd buy this stuff. And I just like had no idea until I started farming, what all it entailed to even just like produce eggs or, grow a broccoli. Like broccoli is an incredibly difficult crop.
Oh, yeah.
especially in our climate. But
totally.
yeah, I'm like, oh, now I get it. Like I never saw that, never could have conceived of it.
And I wish to say, go back to the self-serve farm stand. One thing about that I didn't touch on, and I think how that couples with certification and other sort of marketing and branding and value added stuff, is that it is like, if someone were to do a Google Earth farm tour, you'll see that our barn is right in the smack in the middle of our farm. We're at a dead end road. People come straight through, and we're just walking around them as they come and either pick up their farm share or to shop. And so they're seeing the crops, and they're seeing us like, filthy, sweaty. And probably I would say the greatest impact are the July and August days, where they come out of their probably 65-degree vehicle, right, into a 95-degree Virginia summer. And we're just walking around doing our thing. And they're just like, I think they're just like, oh my God, Yeah. And it adds value, and they can really see what's happening and what it takes to grow vegetables. And they're usually oh my God, thank you. You guys are amazing.
I love that. I love that idea that's like a value add of just like being there, being present around, or them being present around you working is like,
Yeah, you can see it in the data. I mean, the on-site farm shares, the retention is much higher than the kind of the off-site, no interaction, no seeing of place and farmer. I mean, the next best is the farmers market where they're interacting with us, but that's kind of the ideal in a way, Yeah,
I love that. I mean, I think that makes total sense, and I've witnessed that ourselves. Like when we for a time we moved to like a drop-off CSA, and there were people that loved that. Don't get me wrong. There are people that are perfectly happy to get their food and never have to interact with anybody, and I totally am fine with that. And it's fun in a way to be able to serve those people. But at the same time, like, you do feel this loss of connection to those customers, and I think the reverse happens as well. Like, it doesn't feel like they are as likely to stick with you because they don't have that connection. They don't have that emotional connection to you, your kids, your farm, your food, and the work you put in.
Oh, totally. And I think that's what, that's the direct-to-consumer game. I hate to call it a game, but I mean, that's what it is. It's like just establishing these deep connections, especially if you want to build a customer base over time, and differentiating ourselves. And, we live... Central Virginia is just like a strip mall, big box store, fast food kind of mecca. And they come out to this place where they're in the middle of people walking around growing food. It's a self-serve farm stand. And, they'll come up and be like, oh, I wanted to get something, but I'd never been here before, and I didn't bring them, any money. And I'm like, grab what you want. Just come back. I owe you. That's fine. Right. And sure, maybe the people never want to come or don't come back. And I just gave away whatever, $20 worth of produce. But I think, and I find that it's not just the organic growing practices, it's the business. And a lot of these that are so refreshing, I think, is even we get more digital and people are more in screens and they're more inside. I think they find it like spiritually refreshing, honestly. So I hope we can continue to kind of grow that part of our business in that way. People go by like 2 Walmarts to get to us, I mean, the access to food and convenience is, even in an age of, delivery, of Uber Eats and things like that. It's a different world, but at the same time, I think people are craving authenticity in this world. Not everybody, but enough people, to make businesses like ours viable, I think.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I mean, same here in Kentucky, right? Like we're, we have a lot of those same things, and I think increasingly, people are not getting that sort of authentic experience of seeing a farm. And I think, honestly, some of the people that appreciate it the most are the people that maybe grew up around farming or had a grandparent that farmed or whatever, and then they come out and they're like, oh, I miss these smells, and I miss this feeling. And it's cool to be able to provide that. I think yours more so than mine. Like, people can't really drive through our farm because it's kind of in the back of our property. But I think that's a cool thing to be able to offer.
Yeah, and that was somebody taught us early. Like it was like if you can't fight it, flaunt it. So in a lot of ways, like I don't love people coming through our place, and I want privacy. I've got employees who are here, and I get the public here. It's like living in a fishbowl, in a lot of ways. But like at some point, I surrendered to that. We surrendered to that, and it was like, okay, if we're not going to fight this, let's flaunt it. And the way you flaunt it is just kind of building that sort of authentic experience. I think for folks who do want to come and shop on farm.
That's great. I relate to that a lot. It's hard for us to have people here for a number of reasons, but like also just having young kids and, like I'm on YouTube and stuff. So those things become a little bit complicated. But I do like this idea of like, if you can't fight it, flaunt it, of just like, it has a value, and if you embrace it, if you surrender to it a little bit, that it can pay dividends in ways that you maybe didn't conceive of or kind of fought back against for a while. I love that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about winter farming. Be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by Good Agriculture. If you'd rather be on the farm than inside doing your taxes, you are not alone. Good Agriculture handles farm bookkeeping and tax filing, so there is no scrambling at tax time. They keep your books clean and up to date and show you where your farm's finances stand. If you're behind, they'll get you caught up. They also help farmers find funding and stay ahead of grant deadlines. You run the farm, they help the business. Learn more at goodagriculture.com/info. That's goodagriculture.com/info. All right, back to the show.
All right, so Dan, I thought we could kind of finish out this conversation talking a little bit about, and the reason I bring this up, I want to talk about winter farming, but the reason that I bring it up is that a few years ago, I was at the Virginia Biological Conference, VABF.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
And I got to see your talk on this, and it was really interesting because you all were kind of like, it was a rough winter, and I can't remember if it was like snow or ice or whatever we were going through at the time. And you were like, yeah, lots of stuff is failing right now. I'm here to do this talk, but like, yeah, things, and I thought that was really refreshing to just be like, you're doing all these things. Like some years it's worked, some years it hasn't. And like the things that you were learning through that process, and you all were just super open about it. So anyway, I thought we could just kind of talk about like your experiences winter farming and, I don't know, some of the lessons maybe you've learned over the years and that sort of stuff.
Well, of course, every year has its own little unique twist, but I think, winter farming is still, I think, quite a challenge. And we're, we just added a fourth 30 by 96 tunnel. So we're doing more of it, but it still is, this tricky line. And I think it's interesting to see how everybody kind of does it, but where we're trying to balance, a continued source of revenue, which is nice during the wintertime, keeping employees that you really, really like employed and that you want to stick around. So these investments in, one, just having great people around, but you've invested in them, you've trained them, and you want to keep them around for those reasons as well. So doing that, obviously, when you pay for these structures themselves, you want to basically make them pay for themselves as quick as possible, while also the considerations of how complicated do you want it, and how much of a break do you want and need, and you don't know. I think sometimes the just the weather plays a more pronounced role in how profitable it's going to be. How much, whether you're using propane or not, how much propane bill is going to get sucked into your profits, or just how cloudy it's going to be and things like that. And I think that's what makes it really tricky. And why sometimes I just want to figure out how to do less of it or do it better or simplify it, and not have it as complicated as it currently is.
Speaking of complicated, maybe describe what your approach to winter farming is, because there's lots of different ways to do it. I suppose a lot of growers will just grow like a bunch of storage crops in the summertime or late summer, and then they'll grow like a handful of greens over the winter, and that'll be largely, spinach, lettuce, just the basic stuff. Is that kind of what you all are doing?
I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. And so when I said at the intro how we're starting to experiment off-site with some growing, those are the large viney storage crops that I want to be able to add to our winter offerings. So sweet potatoes, winter squash. I mean, white potatoes will usually gone by winter anyway. So, but we're growing more of those as well. But yeah, so we want to get a little bit more in summer that allows us to add, because we're already doing bread and we're already doing lettuces and bunch greens, spinach and things like that in the wintertime. So that is a way to obviously increase some winter revenue without having to do more winter work. But yeah, we're actively growing in our tunnels during the winter. So, nothing, we've reduced over time the variety, and that's just through record keeping, knowing our customers, where it's just like, chard, kale, spinach, salad mixes as often as we can, carrots as often as we can, roots probably end, and we try to get them out of the ground by Christmas time. They don't seem to hold well in the field. We will kind of harvest them and store them for a little bit. And then once the new year comes, like we're already planting again in January and just starting to have things as abundant as possible by the end of February.
Is this mostly farmers market? Is it mostly like, what's the outlets? How does the market change in the wintertime, or does it?
It doesn't much. No, we go to the same Saturday market. We tried the winter CSA, but that was more work than it was worth. And that was just too much. We were just so tired. We just wanted it to be as simple as possible. So yeah, we still keep our farm stand open, and just keep it simple by going to farmers market. We'll do a little bit more wholesale if we can. We'll reach out a little bit more just because we want to go. We just want the time off. And that's a big thing, I think these days. Yeah.
I want to ask about that, but I also, just a technical question, is the farm store, is it heated? Like, is it a insulated structure? Okay.
No, not yet. I mean, we're definitely considering whether we do something like that in the future. But no, it's just like you just pull up, barn doors are open, some fridge cases are there. So we keep things non-frozen pretty much in January, February anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. That's always kind of been the trick for us, is our little shed. It gets a little bit too cold for us to reliably do anything past, this year it was like really past November, but once we get into December this year, we hit like single digits a couple times in December, which is not really a thing.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. This has been an intense year. Did you all get ice and stuff this past week?
Oh yeah, this was the craziest storm we've ever gotten in winter storm we've gotten in Virginia. Yeah, and it was. I think we got extremely lucky that we didn't get a whole ton of ice. That would have been devastating, but it was enough that it just kind of shut things down here in Central Virginia for about 10 days. Yeah, it was wild. And so that a lot of customer, markets were shut down, customers weren't coming out. But we kind of anticipated that. I think the forecast was good enough to let us know, like, we're cutting as much as we possibly can and selling as much as we possibly can before the storm came.
Isn't that so funny, the difference? And you were kind of touching on this. Like in the summertime, like you can have these crazy storms, you can have these crazy weather events, you can have droughts, all this stuff, but like stuff is still growing.
Yeah.
And it's usually fine. Like the markets are still open.
Yeah.
And maybe you do have like a devastating something, but like for the most part, it's like, maybe things shut down for a couple of days and you're good to go. In the wintertime, our county was out of school for 2 solid weeks, like fully out of school for 2 weeks.
Right.
And there was, you couldn't get anywhere. We couldn't even get up our driveway. So it's just like, what do you do if you're relying on that period to make an income without, like, you need good 4-wheel drive, like the extra infrastructure maybe you don't think about, like you need a good 4-wheel drive, but also you need like to be selling in a place that has good weather protocols or whatever. You just have to figure out a way to get food to people. I don't know.
Yeah. And a good market manager is crucial, honestly, and one who really respects the occupation and understands like why we're doing it and doesn't just cancel market because they're uncomfortable. So when folks are going to market, make sure you are interviewing your market manager and make sure they have your back. Because there was somewhere we went to market and we try to stay outside as much as possible just because it's easier. But we have a market that has an inside option, and it got so cold. I think the wind chill was in the negatives, and we were just like, can we please come inside? Can you please accommodate us on this Saturday? And she was like, absolutely. And we just randomly set up in a lobby somewhere. But yeah, those are the kind of things that unfortunately you kind of have to do a few times every winter.
Yeah. And then, another thing that you sort of touched on that maybe we can finish out with this is talking about like the work-life balance element. And,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's like a perfect solution to that in general. Like you just have to figure out what you need at that time period and figure out, where you want to put your time and energy. But I don't know, where have you all landed on the work-life balance stuff?
Probably like most people that is still trying to figure it out. I think as we get wiser, I'd like to think we're getting wiser at it. Part of it is knowing how important the preventative medicine is for our mental health with the work-life balance. So, after a number of seasons of crashing and burning, mentally from the stress, I think it's more of starting to recognize the patterns and incorporate more work-life balance before it gets too, out of whack. But I honestly,
maybe be specific about that, because I'm curious. Like, I guess what that brings to mind would be like sometimes in the spring, I'm thinking, oh, I should plant an extra 100 tomatoes or whatever. And then in the summer, I'm like, oh, now I have to deal with all these extra tomatoes. Is that kind of like what you're talking about, or does it go deeper than that?
I'm thinking I'm on the life side of, but similar, meaning like, oh, I'm going to crash and burn like I always do by the beginning of August. So I need to like plan something fun or enjoyable or relaxing in July. So, or I need to make sure I join or I keep riding bikes with my friends. Like that becomes a non-negotiable, because I think the work life, that's the life part of it obviously includes, family and making time for the kids and family dinners and time to be together. But it also includes like the personal stuff that makes you feel good. And I don't know. I won't speak for anybody else. I obviously talk to other farm friends, but it's really easy to lose yourself in the farm and just work all the time and not leave because you're too tired to leave. And, at the end of the day, you're like, I just want to sit and chill. But then that progressive loneliness, I think, becomes a problem. And so you have to kind of get out. Now, I think the kids have helped me get out. I think if I didn't have the kids, I probably would stay on the farm like all the time. So they helped me get out, but then prioritizing those relationships, be like, I've got to get out. I've got to go ride bikes with my friends, or I've got to go see some live music or go camping or stuff like that. It's like non-negotiable. I have to do it because I don't want to crash and burn and then become a burden to everybody else in my life, my family, my friends, or things like that,
Oh no, that makes total sense to me. I have those sort of non-negotiables as well, and we kind of already talked about it with with me and the kids. It's like I love coaching their soccer teams. I love That's my like community experience and being engaged with not just my kids but like the whole community. And like for me, if I had to give that up to run a successful business, I feel like I'm in the wrong business or something. Mm-hmm. Like I would have to completely redesign the business because that just does not make sense to me. I just don't want to get to that point like later on in life and be like, oh, I'm so glad I missed all those things with my kids so that I could make a little more money. It's a tough balance.
It is. And I still have a long list of those things that I feel like I've missed and don't have it figured out. the number of Saturdays where I was like, I'm sorry, we're in a heat wave. I've got to stay home and keep stuff alive. Like those days are soul crushing, especially if the family's out doing fun stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you with the coaching. Yeah, our kids, we've gotten involved in local mountain bike team, and it's incredible. We get to coach, ride with them, meet other cool people who are doing the same activity, and it's been amazing, and I love it. And I'm so grateful that my kids pull me off in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Mountain bikes. That's like nothing. We have hills here, so we don't even really, I don't know. It's not really a culture that I've seen around here, but that's very cool. I grew up mountain biking, and I grew up in Colorado, so like I grew up mountain biking and stuff.
Yeah.
And, just you saying that, I was like, oh man, that would be a lot of fun.
It is cool. Because you get to ride with the kids, so we're not like just like standing on the sidelines watching them. They like actually need us to ride bikes with them to keep it safe. So we're like, so I'm like getting exercise. I'm with friends. I'm with a bunch of kids, ride bikes in the woods. Like I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Especially, is it a summer sport? Like, is it something that you're doing in the woods in the summertime?
We do actually almost all year. Actually, the spring season's about to start in a couple weeks, and then that ends in like May, and then we're starting it up again in August, and that goes through the fall, through November. So we're doing it quite a bit of part of our lives. Yeah, it's cool. It's perfect.
I love that. I love that. Well, Dan, this has been a super pleasure to chat with you. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jesse. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, how awesome was Dan, right? Anytime you see Dan or Janet on a conference schedule, make sure to hit up that session. We'll put some links in the show notes for how to follow them. And anyway, I think that's it for this particular Wednesday of March of 2026. I'll try a show tomorrow, but if I sound like this, I probably won't do one because it is physically difficult. But don't forget, No Till Growers is a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor this show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Hannah for everything in the world. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. You turn a tide, everything reminds me of your face. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/notillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of March, we will shout you on the show, but we will not do that today. We'll get back to that after a normal show happens. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Call your senator about my voice, I guess. I think that's how you do it. Thanks for watching and or listening. We'll see you whenever I can talk again. Bye.